it took about 2 minutes. On this one, I turned concentric circles on the lathe, and then I took a pneumatic engraving tool and did the texture. This took 2 minutes, and this took about 2 hours. I like the textures both about the same.
All right, this is my wall button. I've never turned anything like this before. I took a cherry, what was going to be a lid for a bowl, but that bowl exploded, unfortunately. So I recycled it, and I did a little bit of oil painting on it. I made some needle points out of African blackwood. I added some eggshell, attached with Mod Podge, or you could probably just use white glue. It seems to be the same thing. I drilled some holes and run some black and white thread through, as you can see on the back side, and added a bronze button in the middle.
And so you get 3 tickets.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Did you say you put a bronze button on it?
Yeah.
Does that mean it's a wall button?
Thank you.
All right, here's my 2 buttons. And my wife's into quilting. So she has a sample quilt on the fireplace. And this is 2 of the patterns out of the sample quilt. So did you cut them out of the piece? Yeah. So they're
Flat.
Yeah.
Use the red camera.
this one is walnut, cherry, and maple. This is cherry and just maple. And I did the rings like Rick showed, but this one I just cupped. I figured it would work out better that way. And then I stitched the buttons like on your shirt. So. Are they to scale? No. The holes are not far enough out. If you go away a real button, the holes have to be out wider.
Well, I figured an engineer would probably want to do it.
Well, the biggest thing was trying to figure out, because it's all in grain. Okay, I couldn't figure out how to do it with side grain. So it's all in grain. Well, in grain, you have to really have a sharp tool. And I finally figured out that I'd get a better cut if I cut into it like this, where I'm always going against the grain, always going support. The wood's always supported rather than coming out.
In other words, you rode the bevel.
Yep, a lot. Rode Anthony's bubble.
I opted for a size that could almost actually be used as a button for something. It's turned in maple and then dyed with a shoe dye that Jerry James introduced me to. The eggs I happen to eat at home are brown eggs, and I thought maybe they could stand livening up a bit. So I have some reflective gold and red paint that I put on the shell before I broke it up. And then I added a little gold Sharpie on the bead to make it stand out better.
I tried to combine a couple of demos, so I did the lattice work that Anthony had demonstrated at one point, and made a small one as a prototype, and then did a larger one. And on the larger one, I added some eggshell, and I added a little bit of texture lines with the Dremel that really went pretty fast. And this is what I ended up with. It's kind of fun. Looks better away from the wall than it does up against the wall because you see the lattice work a little bit more.
And you too get a piece.
And then I made a button with a needle. That'll look cool on the wall.
So I got one that I did with some eggshell, and then I did one with some coloration and some texture. You probably can't see it too well, but so.
Your buttonholes look like they're to scale.
I just guessed.
You're the first guy.
Imagine that.
Found a piece of wood in the garage just kind of laying on the floor. So did this. It has 24 holes in the center, 24 holes in the outside, and then you just do some embroidery.
Cool.
So I try to do many things in one. It started as a ball, a cedar ball, which I like very much. And then I thought maybe I should add another cover and lid to it. And this was with the help of Anthony doing this. And then I met Kevin, which helped, and Kevin told me, why won't you do a button and a lid? So I made this lid, and of course Kevin suggested to have an astonishing color like this blue. And in order to be a credit for the embellishment and some eggshells, that's what I added. So I tried to do many things in one piece.
You got 3 tickets for it.
This will be quick. This is an Osage orange wall button, and I made a red heart button for my sister. It has 3 antler rings in it and so forth, but she didn't get it done to send it back. So we're happy to have made a wall button.
Okay. So first of all, the first button here, I painted that. I used, that was done out of poplar, so not too exciting. I did finish a little slot in the back to hang it rather than go through the hole. So this was what I use. It's Perlux, who's that by, Gerard? Jacquard or something like that. And then this is a textured paste. And I would just take the brush and moisten it and use the different powders, pour it out on a thing. So this was my eggshell version and organic eggs in our house. So the good thing is you don't have to sand it. The problem is you don't have to sand it, so it's not going to be smooth. Afterwards, I looked and you could see a little white on the side of the shells. I was like, well, I probably should have painted the back of the wood white, and then it would have a nice contrast, because the wood coloring actually doesn't stand out, doesn't create as much contrast. And this was, I had a winter coat for years that had one of these buttons on it, and this is supposed to be leather, and so I used a Dremel to carve that out in the right pattern. And then afterwards, I looked at it today and I was like, well, it'd be nice if you carved it and shaped it a little better so it looked like pieces were going in and out, weaved between each other. So I may take it home and try to do that, but I don't know how I'm going to finish it. That way I'll have to figure out, how to keep from getting all the Beal wax stuck in there. So.
Where'd you get that paint?
I either I'm not sure, I either got this at Michael's or I got it off of Amazon, one of the two. So there's a good chance it was Amazon, and I was like, well, they have like 3 sets of 12 different colors, and this one had a lot of blues, and so I got that, and blues and golds, and so, that kind of what pushed me towards this set versus another one. But it's nice because then you can try different colors every time you do it, which I don't do the coloring that much. Otherwise, I'd probably be buying big containers. It's called Pearl-X, but it's I think CQ Jakar or something like that. It's been 2 years since I've had to look them up, so I don't remember the name. But and this, I'm not even sure where I got this. It's Ranger, but it's just a textured paste. It's like an acrylic paste you could use. If you do stuff with acrylic paints, you would, same kind of thing.
All right. This is my wall button. I ran out of material, so I had to do that. In the Second World War, the British sent their air crews out with buttons that unscrewed on their aircraft. And so if somebody came down, they put silk maps inside them. And this is something I always wanted to make. And so it's got 32 threads to the inch. And I haven't drilled the hole. I got the nib on the back. You're supposed to drill a little hole in it. And so Sunday, I guess that was yesterday, I took this over to the group at Woodcraft, and nobody could take it apart. So I cut this little fingernail thingy on the back. He says it's not embellishment.
What do you think? Is it embellished? Okay. How does he know? Okay.
No, it's all right. That's all I got. It's just made out of that bone, and it's kind of fun. It's nice to turn. This is I made both pieces out of the same thickness, and so that's how thick a wall bone.
Wow.
The wall bone button.
Wall bone.
Wall bone. Okay.
Well, first off, it was good audience participation for this month's challenge. Thank you. This was the demonstrating button last month, and so I just wanted to bring it back and show everybody. The only thing that I ended up doing was I did use India ink brush pens on the black. And what I found out, okay, so remember this paint was milk paint and this was milk paint. But when I used the 3408 CA glue, that India ink kind of smears. So you're going to see a little bit of smeared black around there, which you don't want. So I don't know if that 3408 is good stuff to use for the ink brush pens that I use for my Native American basketry. And then I just put it on the back what the demo was there.
Okay, so how about just picking a winner? A winning ticket. A winning ticket. Yeah, that's one. Okay. Drum roll, please. 8, 4, 5. Yeah. Oh, he got 3 tickets. All right. 3 tickets.
8, 4, 5.
Congratulations. This is a custom tool made by Kevin. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah.
All right. Congratulations.
So your challenge for next month is to make a handle for it. Great. Okay.
Instead of sortie tools, that's a Neely tool.
That's a Neely tool, a Neely specialist. Okay. Oh, damn. We went over. Time wise. Okay, show and tell. We have got some incredible stuff here. I mean, this triple crotch vessel and the, look for the turned olive too.
Yeah, Don did a bang-up job this month. Basically, I just brought home a coconut from Italy. Why did I do that? It was almost perfectly round. I was in Venice, and I saw that coconut, and he jumped out at me, and I grabbed him, and I hauled him all the way back. And the bonus was when I, you know how a coconut, you have to put a nail in it, and pour the water out? It was the sweetest tasting coconut water I've ever had. So there you have it. Basically, milk paint, dye, African blackwood, CA finish.
And you got it through customs?
Yes. No, I went through customs and the check thing twice with that coconut.
In your pocket?
No, he's in my bag.
Wow. It's full of cocaine.
I brought 3 pieces. I'll talk about the other 2 over there first. The wine bottle and the cheese was a collaborative effort with a friend of mine out who's a wood carver, fish and bird wood carver, several-time world champion. And he and I wanted to do a piece as a gift for some good friends. And so I turned the wine bottle, made the Ritz crackers and the olive, and had that piece of holy box elder that worked good for the Swiss cheese, and then he made the knife handle and the corkscrew opener, and painted the label on the wine bottle. So that was kind of a fun project. Rick is responsible in a way for the other 2 pieces. The one is a slice of white oak, and I'd seen him do one, I don't know, 6 or 8 months ago or something, that he brought a piece, and that kind of inspired me to turn that. I had a lot of fun doing that and plan on doing some more of those. And a year and a half ago or more, I had a big white oak tree that I had to drop, and the main part of the log was there, and Rick was up getting some other wood, and there was a triple crotch at the end of it, and I did my best to give it to him because I didn't really want to think about turning it, and he turned me down on it. So he took another chunk off somewhere else on the piece of ash, and finally I got around to cutting this off, and this was 100 pounds or more when I put it on the lathe. I had to use a overhead crane to put it on, and so I thought it made kind of an interesting piece because of the 3 or 5 piths on it, and was by far the hardest thing I've ever tried to hollow. So it was fun.
I was looking at ideas for things we could sell at the Irish Festival and such. And there was an article about making these in the February issue of AAW Journal. It's an earring stand and ring holder combination. And it's all done out of one piece. This was ash, and then this was that shoe dye, which came out much more interesting on ash than it did on maple.
I had some eggshell left. So I made an egg that is a box, and I took the time, then I turned a little snowman that sits inside of it and put a little snow on it. But the most difficult part, this was basically an egg box that I stained with aniline dye, so it was blue. I wanted it to be dark, and then I put some muddled trees in the background, and then started playing with getting the eggshell on. After I did the thicker eggshell down here, then it was a matter of trying to sand round circles out of eggshell. That's my story.
Okay, we got any more? Oh, yeah, that's a gorgeous bowl.
This is a piece of maple. It was a lucky find in the neighborhood behind me. I'd say it was almost the circumference of one of these work tables, and about 20 inches deep. So I got 12 or so pieces of it. Wow. And so this is a wedding bowl for my daughter. So what I did was I went to Woodcraft and talked to Craig, and he suggested an aniline dye, walnut, and I did that coating, sanded that off, and then I went with a couple coats of shellac. And then I did a rub out on the shellac to try and get rid of all the final little scratches.
You put a dye on there?
The dye, hopefully, well, the way he explained it is because all these little patterns are grained facing different directions, that the aniline dye would soak into those different areas and enhance that.
And you just used a very, very light dye in there?
It was walnut, and I used the recommended, the bottle recommendation for the cut, and then just on, and then it's about 320 grit. And that's what I was afraid of, but it ended up sanding back off and just enhancing the areas that he said it would. So. Are
you happy with it?
I'm happy with everything except for the finish. I think I could still do a little more rub out on it.
Is that shellac flakes or just a?
It was bullseye. So. Thanks.
Oh, there it is. That's interesting. I'm working on it.
So this is a funereal urn. It's the second one I made for the guy. He brought me the bird, and he had a plinth, just a square rectangular thing about 8 tall, and the lid is made out of that. The bird came with 2 broken legs, and I used nails, and so I drilled through it, put the nails in, epoxied them together. I asked Dale Darnell, and he said that was the way to do it. And I really futzed around how I was going to attach the bird to the stand or to the lid, and I eventually just glued it. I just didn't know a better way to do it. It's interesting. It's big leaf maple burl. It's not a very hard wood, but it took a thread very nicely. The lid is what didn't take the threads as well. Luckily, it was adequate. I don't remember what I used, if I used 16s or 12s. I think I used 12. I sanded away the damaged portions of the burl. I haven't got a finish on it yet. I'm just going to oil it, I think.
Did you say it's a funeral?
For ashes,
Is the
yeah.
guy in there?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah. I think they glue these on, the lids on so they don't get back out.
We'll bring it back when you're done.
No, it'll be gone. This will probably go away in a week or so.
Well, so is that urn for a bird or?
It's for a daughter. And I don't know anymore.
Daughter died?
No, she's still kicking.
Okay.
The first one I made is for the man and his wife. They want to be in it together, and they're still kicking. So I don't know.
How do you calculate the capacity?
Cubic inch per pound.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
This is per pound before or after?
While they're kicking. Yeah.
How do you do cubic inches
fill it with
Put a lot of rice in it.
Yeah.
fill it with sand. Yeah.
Calculus.
Measure the sand when you take it out. Pour it out.
Outdoor work.
And what I did is I just made it bigger than I needed to. I mean, I've made it before, and I know about how much, and so it's bigger. It's going to be roomy.
She can turn over.
I didn't want you to worry it's going to be too tight in there.
Yeah, as long as you don't have cracks in it, you're all right. Yeah.
Woodhouse, you're up. That's yours, right?
Yeah.
This is made from Paducah, here, and the middle is a Newport plum. But the reason that I did it was a Newport plum fractures, breaks, cracks, whatever you want to call it, a lot. And so there's a lot of CA glue on this just to hold it together. But the other part of it was I wanted to darken it. So I used some material that I had in the shop, what was given to me a number of years ago. I don't think I've ever heard of it since. But it's brie wax, and it's a very, very thin black wax. And it rubs right into all the pores and everything of this and turns it much darker. But it's kind of neat stuff. I kind of liked it. So thank you, Bob Davis.
That comes in a lot of different colors, doesn't it, Dick? Brie wax?
Yeah. But I don't know if this colored brie wax is available anymore.
Yeah, it is. The
Is
black.
it?
The black
Okay,
is.
the black is?
And liming wax.
Okay.
Yeah, the regular brie wax is kind of an orangish color. It's got beeswax.
But it's supposed to dry clear, right? No.
I think that's it.
Okay.
All right.
Folks, thanks so much for coming. I hope that you enjoyed it, got something out of it tonight. And our next meeting is going to be Monday, July 8th, here, 7 o'clock. And the challenge is going to be to turn something you've always wanted to turn but never have.
So there.
Remember the picnic?
Oh, yeah, Saturday.
Saturday.
Be there or be square. Shawnee Mission Park, shelter house number 6, right on the lake.
10 o'clock.
The last 2 years, we've gone there. It's like my wife did look at it. It's so damn hot. And, it's gorgeous, this place. I mean, it was low 70s with gentle breeze coming off the water. I mean, and the rest, around, it's the closest one to parking and to the restrooms and everything. So yeah, if you've never been out to Shawnee Mission Park, shelter house number 6, it's worth it to go just for that. So.